There's really no debate. Artificial intelligence makes fantastic looking pieces of art. However, it is challenging to use these artworks for print on demand. They don't really have a background that you can remove easily. The sizing of them often is not ideal. Often the image itself can be really complex and you can't modify it easily. So in this video, I'm going to provide some tips, 5 tips on how you can maximize your chances of making a sale in print on demand using AI artwork. Let's jump in. Tip number 1 is to remove the background if possible. So when you're creating an artificial intelligence image, hopefully the background is not super complicated. So here's a great example of a regular background. I think I can remove this I'm just using Photoshop. So I'm going to go in here now to my eraser tool, and I've got my tolerance set to 50. And when I go here to the top, I can remove the piece of the headphone and at least give me a fighting chance to make this look decent on a t-shirt. So I'm going to put a different background in here just so we can compare. I don't like to just have the little checkerboard background in case I'm missing a tiny piece of artwork. So I'm just going to put a paint tool in here. Sometimes you'll see little stragglers in here. Now the challenge is if I try to remove more. So if I go into the middle piece, we're going to see now it could start getting too much. There's a great example. So I'm going to go edit, undo. So you have a couple choices here. Either you can leave this as is, or you can lower the tolerance on whatever graphic design software you're using, Photoshop or Affinity Photo, that kind of thing. So here I've got the tolerance now set to 25%. It's way more work, but I can go in now and start piecemealing out the actual background. The other option is just to use the eraser, not the background eraser. And depending on your brush and your hardness, you can go in and you can start literally just painting and removing it. This could take really a long time because you have to go right up to the edge. So I wouldn't recommend that unless you're like really out of options, but not every option is going to work in this case. This could look decent on a t-shirt because I've removed enough of it that it doesn't look like just a square. Tip number 2 is you might be able to add a frame to just make your design look different enough than just a picture. So the problem we've got now is I've got this great AI picture of a robot cat, but it's just a square picture and it just looks like an AI piece of generated art. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make a frame. Now I'm using Photoshop, but you could do this in Affinity Photo or Inkscape or any other graphic design. I've got a metallic background and I'm going to stretch now and make it the size of my Merch by Amazon template. And then what I'm going to do next is create a rectangle, and it doesn't really matter what color I use, but I'm just going to put a layer. I'm going to make it like this, for example, and then I'm going to merge the two together. So I'm going to select both layers. I'm going to make sure that they're centered and plumb, and then I'll go merge layers, and now they're merged together. Now I can simply just, using the eraser tool, I can just remove out the middle piece. And what that leaves me with is a metallic frame around the border of my Merch by Amazon shape. Now I can use my cat design, I can make him a bit bigger, and I can put him right in the middle of the frame. What this does is it kind of tricks the eye into noticing the frame, that it's not just a picture. It's a picture inside of a frame, and thus it makes either a good fine art print or a t-shirt design. This isn't going to work all the time, but it can give you a fighting chance to make it look different enough that it separates you from the competition. Another thing you can do is you can also color the frame. So I'm going to go bright pink, and I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to put them on top like this, and then between the two, I'm going to put a mask on them. I'm just going to make this top one here multiply, and that'll just make it look metallic, but it's got a frame around it. So there's different options you can play with it. Again, not every design is going to react positively to this, but it gives you an option rather than just a boring regular picture. The third option is to use AI itself to remove the background wherever possible. So here, for example, I'm inside of Kittl. By the way, if you like what you see here with Kittl, I'll put a link in the video description below. Just a heads up, it is an affiliate link. That just means that if you click on the link and you purchase something, I would receive a small commission. I'm going to type in Cat Warrior. I'm going to put psychedelic. I'm going to click generate image. Okay, now here we've got our cat image. This looks great, but again, it's square and it's got a black background. But in Kittl, over on the right-hand side, there's actually an AI background remover. So I can click on that. It thinks for a couple seconds, and then it removes the background. I think it does an excellent job. Kittl's a premier brand here for AI, in my opinion. So you could use that now as a t-shirt design. I'm going to do my background color as 0%, and now that gives me a great looking option for a t-shirt. There's a similar option inside of Creative Fabrica. When I go into Spark, I can create a transparent PNG. Same disclaimer, I'll put an affiliate link down in the video description. That just means if you click on the link, I would receive a small commission. So here I can type into the chat window what I would like to do. So I'm going to say cat riding a bicycle. And this gives me 4 options now, and you'll see when I hover over the image, the background actually gets removed. So I'm going to click on this guy here. I'm going to publish him, and here's my image I can download. It is a PNG file, although it has a white background. This looks good on a t-shirt because there's just simply no background on it. You can add text, you could make all sorts of funky designs with it. Tip number 4 is to put the image into a shape. Here I've got a great design of a dog, but I'm not a fan of just a square design on a t-shirt. I think it looks kind of amateurish. So what I'm going to do here in Photoshop is I'm going to add in a circle. So I'm going to go to the ellipse tool, and then I'm going to add a nice big circle. I'll put the dog shape on top, and I'll just do a simple layer mask. And just like that, now I've got a round design instead of a square design. I think this can infinitely increase your odds of making a sale because it doesn't just look like a computer generated image. It looks like you've spent time graphically designing it and sticking it into a circular motif. And you could do this with other shapes as well, hearts and so on. Tip number 5 is you might just want to leave the image alone but add some text. So here I've got an example of a cat warrior, and it looks fine, but again, the rectangle to me just seems a bit amateurish. So what I'm going to do is shorten the image here up so I can put some text in at the bottom, and then it's just a matter of going in and typing in something I think funny. And by the way, quick tip, if you want to do any sort of meme or icon has cheeseburger, the font that you want to use is called Impact. So this is just an example of where suddenly the rectangular shape of the design doesn't seem as important because there's some funny text underneath it. You're kind of just owning the fact that it's a computer generated design. You're kind of making fun of it because you're creating a meme, you're creating a saying underneath it. And so the actual image becomes part of a larger design. I'd love to hear your comments and questions as well. And here's another video on how you can supercharge your print-on-demand journey using the powers of artificial intelligence.